Clean Air Metals current lake deposit already has a JORC resource of almost 800,000 ounces of indicated and inferred palladium equivalent. For investors that don't know what a JORC resource is, can you explain that to us and describe how it's different from a 43-101?
Sure. JORC is the Australian equivalent of National Instrument 43-101 guidelines for the production of a technical report. So when we talk about a JORC sort of compliant technical report, we're talking about guidelines that are listed on the Australian Stock Exchange, the securities documentation which guides the drafting of technical reports. After the BRIEX scandal, when NI 43-101 was introduced in securities legislation in Ontario, in Canada really, you know, they use JORC as a guide to formulate 43-101. So it's a highly stringent sort of series of requirements of points that the author must cover in order to properly detail the technical presentation that they're authoring. And so then, as I say, they're quite similar. So then our objective then on the Thunder Bay North property, you know, having an existing JORC compliant resource, because Panoramic of Australia was using Australian guidelines at the time in 2012, and we have a series of technical documents outlining the indicated and inferred resources at Thunder Bay North in the current lake deposit that we place, you know, very high sort of credibility on. That said, the TSX has determined that it should be regarded as a historical resource because of its currency. It's 8 years old, but also because the ownership has now changed hands as well. So, and we're good with that. So part of the exercise going forward will be, as we drill off the Escape Lake deposit, it will be brought forward into a 43-101 compliant resource statement and technical report, and ultimately will be married to a validated, you know, what is now a JORC compliant or a historical JORC compliant resource, will be validated and turned into a 43-101 resource with a new technical report. The two will be combined as a global resource for the property, and in 12 to 18 months we hope to be out with a new 43-101 which describes both assets compliant with the national instrument.
And can you just explain to us what the difference between measured, indicated, and referred resources are versus proven and probable reserves?
Sure. It's all about drill density, Tina, and at the end of the day, typically it depends on the deposit type. Some deposits might well be able to have an indicated resource at 50-meter drill spacing. Others might require 25 or 15. It really is up to the independent observer, the engineering group that's tasked with generating the resource. And they can use various statistical methods to determine what an appropriate density is for a measured resource, an indicated resource, or an inferred resource. Once they have measured and indicated based on an appropriate density of drilling and an appropriate data points within the deposit, then they do an economic study on it to generate proven and probable reserve. And it's only when they have a positive feasibility study that they will actually put their stamp on that measured and indicated resource and move it into the reserve category.
So in terms of timing for Clean Air, you mentioned 12 to 18 months for a resource. Will that be measured and indicated or include inferred as well?
That would be measured, indicated, and inferred.